October 23, 2014. Conference call. Amazon's chief financial officer clears his throat and says a number that makes the room go silent. $170 million. Gone. Written off. Turned into warehouse dust. Somewhere in a distribution center, $83 million worth of brand new smartphones sit in boxes, untouched, unsold, unwanted. Not refurbished. Not returned. Just dead stock. Amazon just posted the biggest quarterly operating loss in company history. $544 million gone in 3 months. And at the center of the wreckage sits a phone with your name on it. Literally. The Fire phone. Jeff Bezos' phone. The device he personally obsessed over for 3 years. The device that was supposed to change how the entire world shopped. Instead, it became one of the most expensive flops in Silicon Valley history. And the craziest part? Nobody forced Amazon into this disaster. They walked in with their eyes wide open, poured $500 million into a hole, and kept digging because the boss said dig. So how does a company that built the everything store, a company worth over $150 billion at the time, completely misread what its own customers wanted? Let's rewind. By 2010, Amazon had a problem. Not a small one. Every time someone bought something through the Amazon app on an iPhone, Apple took a cut. Up to 30%, straight off the top. Google was doing the same thing on Android. Bezos looked at that and saw Amazon's own customers walking through somebody else's toll booth. He hated it. So the plan was simple, at least on paper. Build Amazon's own phone. Cut out the middleman. Own the hardware, own the operating system, own the customer's thumb from the second they wake up to the second they fall asleep. Internally, they called it Project Tyto. And Bezos didn't treat it like a side project. He treated it like the future of the company. This was peak Amazon arrogance. And it wasn't hidden, it was proud of itself. The Kindle had already proven Bezos could take on hardware giants and win. E-readers were supposed to fail against tablets. They didn't. Amazon Web Services was quietly becoming the most profitable part of the entire company. Bezos had a hot hand, and he believed his own hype. He believed that if Amazon built it, shaped by his personal vision, the market had no choice but to show up. And Bezos didn't just greenlight this phone. He designed pieces of it himself. He sat in meetings for years obsessing over one single feature. Dynamic perspective. For front-facing cameras built into the corners of the phone, constantly tracking your eyes and your head position, tilting the screen's graphics in real time to create a fake sense of three-dimensional depth, icons that seemed to float, menus that peeled back like you were looking through a window. Bezos wanted people to physically tilt their heads at products on Amazon and feel like they were browsing a store shelf. He thought this was the innovation that would define the next decade of mobile shopping. Engineers reportedly warned that the feature was a battery-draining gimmick with limited real use. Bezos pushed forward anyway. When you're the founder of one of the most valuable companies on Earth, very few people in the room are willing to tell you no. July 25, 2014. Fire phone launches. Exclusive to AT&T. Price tag $199 with a 2-year contract. Same price point as the iPhone. Same price point as Samsung's flagship. Amazon wasn't positioning this as a budget alternative. They were positioning it as a premium competitor, going head-to-head with the two biggest names in mobile. And this is where the fatal blind spot cracks wide open. Nobody at any point seemed to stop and ask the most obvious question in consumer technology. What problem does this actually solve for a normal person? A phone that tilts graphics when you move your head isn't a feature people were begging for. It was a novelty, parlor trick, something you'd show a friend once, laugh at, and never touch again. Meanwhile, the 4 cameras required to power this gimmick chewed through battery life at an alarming rate. Reviewers noted the phone struggled to make it through a full day under normal use, largely because of the sensors constantly scanning your face. Then there was Firefly, Amazon's other headline feature, an image recognition tool that could scan real-world objects, songs, and barcodes and instantly pull up a page to buy them on Amazon. Sounds clever in a boardroom pitch. In real life, it just made the phone feel like a shopping cart with a screen bolted onto it, not a device you'd actually want to live inside every day. And underneath all of it sat the real killer, the app ecosystem. Amazon built the Fire Phone on a heavily modified version of Android, but stripped out the actual Google Play Store, replacing it with Amazon's own App Store. On paper, fine. In practice, catastrophic. Amazon's store had roughly 240,000 apps at the time. Google Play had over 1 million. No Gmail, no YouTube, no Google Maps, no Dropbox. Developers had to build a separate version of their app specifically for one phone that almost nobody owned, and most of them simply didn't bother. So customers who spent $200 on a flagship-price device opened it up and found a barren app store, missing half the tools they used every single day. You were paying premium prices for a phone that felt years behind the competition the moment you turned it on. The reviews landed like a demolition crew. Critics called the 3D effect gimmicky and disorienting. Battery life was mocked. The lack of apps was hammered again and again. Estimates based on advertising impression data suggested the phone sold somewhere around 35,000 units in its first 20 days on the market. For context, Apple was selling that many iPhones roughly every 8 minutes during a launch weekend. Amazon has never released official sales numbers for the Fire Phone to this day, which in corporate language usually means the real number is even more embarrassing than the rumors. Within a month, Amazon slashed the price from $199 down to 99 cents. 99 cents with a contract. A flagship phone marked down to the price of a candy bar, and it still couldn't move off the shelves. AT&T's rival, T-Mobile's own CEO, publicly mocked the price crash online, because when your competitor's failure is that spectacular, you don't need a marketing team, you just need a phone and an internet connection. By October 2014, the bleeding hit the balance sheet in full force. That $170 million write-down wasn't just embarrassing. It was a signal to Wall Street that Amazon's bold bets could blow up in slow motion for years before anyone pulled the plug. 83 million of that figure was unsold inventory, sitting in warehouses worldwide, phones nobody wanted at any price. High-profile investors started publicly questioning whether Amazon's entire strategy of endless bold bets was sustainable, or if this was just Bezos playing with company money on personal obsessions. Amazon quietly kept the Fire Phone limping along for about a year after that, before killing it off entirely in 2015. No dramatic press conference, no apology tour, just silence and a product page that eventually disappeared. Total losses on the project are estimated at over $500 million when you factor in development, marketing, inventory, and the write-down itself. $500 million for a phone most people alive today have never even heard of. Here's the twist that gets repeated in almost every retelling of this story, and it's worth being honest about it. The popular legend says Amazon sacrificed the Fire Phone on purpose, some genius long-game move that directly birthed the Echo speaker and Alexa. It's a comforting story. It's also mostly myth. Internal reporting revealed that the Echo team at Amazon's hardware lab had no idea the Fire Phone team even existed for years. They were built in separate silos, separate buildings, completely disconnected. The Fire Phone didn't fund Alexa's success through some brilliant strategic sacrifice. It just failed badly while a completely unrelated team happened to be building something else down the hall that actually worked. Bezos himself would later write in a 2018 shareholder letter that Amazon was able to take lessons from the Fire Phone failure and apply them to Echo, and that a single big winning bet can cover the cost of plenty of losers. True, but notice that admission came 4 years after the fact, once Echo was already a hit and the wound didn't sting anymore. And that's really the lesson sitting underneath all of this. It's not really about cameras or apps or battery life. It's about what happens when the most powerful person in a company falls in love with his own idea, and nobody left in the building has the courage or the leverage to say, "Sir, customers don't want this." Amazon had the money. Amazon had the talent. Amazon had years of runway and zero pressure to rush. And they still built a device engineered around what Bezos wanted to see, instead of what people actually wanted to buy. $500 million evaporated, not because Amazon lacked resources, but because arrogance is the one bug that money can't patch. If a company with Bezos's brain and Amazon's bank account can burn $500 million chasing a gimmick nobody asked for, it should terrify every founder watching this who thinks their gut feeling is automatically correct. If this breakdown hit different, subscribe because we're covering the next billion-dollar collapse very soon. And trust me, it gets even messier from here. Drop a comment telling us which corporate disaster we should dissect next. See you in the next one.